Lily Morgan's life was destroyed in front of 200 people, and every second was caught on camera. Standing on a stage in her thrift store dress while the crowd laughed at her humiliation, watching her boyfriend reveal he had stolen everything she owned, hearing her grandmother declare she would die poor and forgotten, this was supposed to be the night Lily finally belonged. Instead, it became the night the Hartwells threw her away like garbage. They thought they had won. They thought she was broken forever. They had no idea that 8 years later she would return, not as the charity case they destroyed, but as the woman who would take everything from them. This is the story of how an orphaned girl with nothing became the heiress who brought down an empire. The story began on a cold November evening in Riverside Heights, in a mansion that had never truly been Lily's home. She had been 8 years old when the car accident took her parents. One moment, she had been a normal child with a modest but loving family. The next, she was an orphan with nowhere to go. Her father's distant cousin, Constance Hartwell, had agreed to take her in. It had seemed like a blessing at the time, a wealthy family offering shelter to a grieving child. But blessings, Lily would learn, often came with invisible price tags. For 10 years, Lily lived in the Hartwell mansion, but she never lived as part of the Hartwell family. Her room was a converted storage space in the basement, concrete walls, no windows, a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. While Natalie Hartwell slept in a bedroom suite with a 4-poster bed and a walk-in closet, Lily slept on a narrow cot with thin blankets that never quite kept out the cold. She ate her meals alone in the kitchen after the family had finished, picking at whatever leftovers the cook left for her. She wore Natalie's hand-me-downs and donated clothes from the church donation box. She cleaned the bathrooms she was not allowed to use during the day. She scrubbed the marble floors of the grand ballroom where she was never invited to dance. Constance Hartwell ruled the house with an iron fist wrapped in expensive silk. At 78 years old, she still commanded every room she entered. Her silver hair always perfectly styled, her designer clothes immaculate, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She rarely spoke to Lily directly, but when she did, her words were calculated to remind the girl of her place. "You should be grateful," Constance would say, looking down at Lily with cold grey eyes. "Do you know how many orphans would kill for the opportunity you have been given?" Lily had learned to say thank you. She had learned to keep her head down, to work hard, to never complain. She had learned that survival meant making herself invisible. But she had also held on to dreams, dreams of going to college, dreams of becoming a teacher like her mother had been, dreams of building a life where she would finally belong somewhere. When she turned 18, she received a small inheritance from her parents' estate, $5,000. It was not much, barely enough for a semester at community college, but to Lily it represented hope. It represented the possibility of independence, of a future beyond these walls. She had been carefully planning how to use that money. She had researched scholarships, applied to schools, calculated budgets down to the last dollar. She had been so close to escape. And then Natalie Hartwell had knocked on her door. Natalie was everything Lily was not. Blonde, beautiful, confident, and cruel in the casual way that only people who had never known hardship could be. At 25, she had built a career as a social media influencer, documenting her luxury lifestyle for hundreds of thousands of followers. She treated Lily the way one might treat a stray dog that had wandered into the house, with a mixture of pity and disgust. Which was why Lily had been so surprised when Natalie smiled at her that morning and said, "I want you to come to my birthday party tonight. Really. It's time we treated you like real family." Lily had stared at her, searching for the trap, the hidden cruelty. But Natalie had just smiled wider and said, "Wear something nice, tonight's special." For the first time in years, Lily had allowed herself to feel something dangerous. Hope. She had only one nice outfit, a simple navy dress she had bought from a thrift store with money earned from doing odd jobs around the neighborhood. She had pressed it carefully, fixed her hair as best she could with drugstore products, and tried not to feel self-conscious about the fact that she did not own any jewelry or designer shoes. When she entered the grand ballroom that evening, she felt like she was stepping into another world. The Hartwell ballroom was magnificent. High ceilings with crystal chandeliers, walls lined with mirrors that made the space feel infinite, floors of polished marble that reflected the warm glow of hundreds of candles. 200 people filled the room, all of them dressed in clothes that cost more than Lily had seen in her entire life. A string quartet played in the corner. Waiters circulated with trays of champagne and elaborate hors d'oeuvres. Lily stood near the entrance, clutching a small wrapped gift she had made for Natalie. A hand-painted picture frame with a photo from years ago, back when she had still believed Natalie might like her. Her thrift store dress suddenly felt like a costume. She could feel eyes on her, hear the whispers starting. Is that the charity case? What is she doing here? God, look at what she's wearing. Lily's face burned, but she forced herself to hold her head up. Natalie had invited her. She had a right to be here. Lily! Natalie appeared beside her, linking her arm through Lily's with surprising warmth. She was stunning in a white silk gown that probably cost more than Lily's entire education fund. Her blonde hair cascaded in perfect waves down her back. She smelled like expensive perfume and confidence. "Come with me," Natalie said, her voice bright and cheerful. "There's someone I want you to meet." She led Lily through the crowd toward the center of the ballroom, right under the massive chandelier where everyone could see them. Lily's heart pounded. A small platform had been set up there, a stage for speeches, she assumed. "Everyone," Natalie called out, and the room fell silent. 200 pairs of eyes turned toward them. The string quartet stopped playing. Even the waiters paused in their circulation. Lily felt her stomach drop. "I want to introduce you all to someone very special," Natalie continued, her voice carrying across the silent room. "This is Lily Morgan. Some of you might know her as the girl my grandmother took in after her parents died." Uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lily felt her face flush. This was not the kind of introduction she had expected. "Lily just turned 18, Natalie went on, pulling out her phone. "And she recently received a small inheritance from her parents. $5,000. It's not much, barely enough for a semester of community college. But for someone like Lily, it must feel like winning the lottery." A few people chuckled. Lily's stomach twisted into knots. "Lily's been saving that money so carefully," Natalie said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "She's been planning her whole future around it. College, independence, finally moving out of our basement." She paused dramatically, and suddenly the massive screen behind them lit up with images. Bank statements, transaction records, Lily's private documents, somehow obtained and displayed for everyone to see. "There's just one problem," Natalie announced. "The money's gone." The room gasped. Lily felt dizzy, her vision blurring at the edges. This could not be happening. "What are you talking about?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Oh, Lily," Natalie said, her sympathy so exaggerated it was clearly mocking. "Did you really think Derek loved you?" And that was when he appeared. Derek was Natalie's boyfriend, or at least that was what Lily had thought. Tall, handsome, charming Derek, who had started paying attention to Lily 3 months ago, who had told her she was beautiful, who had kissed her under the stars and promised they would build a future together, who had convinced her to put her inheritance in a joint account so they could start planning their life together. He walked up onto the platform now, casually putting his arm around Natalie's waist. He looked at Lily with something like amusement in his eyes. "Sorry, babe," he said, not looking sorry at all, "but $5,000 for 3 months of pretending to like you. Easiest money I ever made." The crowd erupted in shocked whispers and nervous laughter. Someone was filming on their phone. Lily saw the light, saw the lens pointed at her face, capturing every moment of her humiliation. "You took my money." Her voice came out broken, childlike. She hated how weak she sounded. "We put it in a joint account together, remember?" Derek smirked. You trusted me so much it was almost too easy." Natalie held up her phone, tapping the screen. The display behind them changed to show a video. Lily watched in horror as footage played of Derek and Natalie kissing, laughing, talking about her. "She's so desperate," video Natalie said, giggling. "She actually thinks you're in love with her. The way she looks at me is pathetic," video Derek replied. "But hey, $5,000 is $5,000. The timestamp showed the video was from 2 months ago. 2 months. He had been with Natalie the entire time he had been with Lily. "I wanted to teach you a lesson, Lily," Natalie said, and now her voice had turned cold. The false sympathy was gone, replaced with pure contempt. "You've been living in our house, eating our food, wearing clothes bought with our money for 10 years, and you have never once known your place. You actually thought you could go to college, that you could be something, that someone like Derek could actually want someone like you." The room was completely silent now, except for the sound of Lily's own breathing, too fast, too shallow. She felt like she was drowning in front of 200 people. That was when Constance Hartwell appeared. The crowd parted for her like subjects before a queen. She mounted the platform slowly, deliberately, her silk gown rustling with each step, her diamonds catching the chandelier light. Even at 78, she commanded absolute attention. The room held its breath. She looked at Lily with eyes like ice. "Lily," she said, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom. "Do you know why I took you in when your parents died?" Lily could not speak, could not move. "Obligation," Constance continued. "Your mother once worked for this family. When she and your father died in that accident, leaving nothing but debts and a child nobody wanted, I did what was charitable. I gave you a roof over your head. I fed you. I clothed you. And this is how you repay me? By stealing from my granddaughter? By seducing her boyfriend? By plotting to take money that does not belong to you? I did not." Lily tried to speak, but her voice came out as a sob. "You did not what? You did not put your inheritance into a joint account with a man you barely knew. You did not try to trap him with your poverty and desperation." Constance's voice rose, sharp as a blade. "I have watched you for 10 years, Lily. Always sneaking around, always watching us with those envious eyes, always wanting what you can never have. You are just like your mother, grasping, ambitious, forgetting your place." Tears streamed down Lily's face. The crowd watched like spectators at an execution. She could see phones held up recording, broadcasting her destruction to the world. "Your parents died in debt," Constance continued, her voice dropping to a cruel whisper that somehow still carried to every corner of the room. "They left you nothing. They were nobody. A secretary and a failed businessman who drove drunk and killed themselves, leaving their daughter as a burden to people far above their station. And you? You are even less than they were." She stepped closer, so close Lily could smell her expensive perfume, could see the absolute coldness in her eyes. "You will never be one of us, Lily. You will never be worthy of this family, this house, this life. You are a charity case, a burden, a mistake I made out of misguided kindness." Her eyes bore into Lily's. "You'll die poor and forgotten, just like your parents. That $5,000? Consider it payment for 10 years of food and shelter. You are lucky we do not charge you more." The room spun. Lily felt like she might vomit. "Get out," Constance said quietly. "Get out of my house. You have 1 hour to collect your things and leave. If you are still here after that, I will call the police and have you arrested for theft." "But I did not steal anything." Lily's voice was barely a whisper. "You stole my time, my resources, and my granddaughter's boyfriend," Constance said. "Marcus, remove her." Marcus Hartwell stepped forward from the crowd. At 30, he was Constance's grandson, a man Lily had grown up with, a man she had once thought of as something like a brother. He would not look at her as he grabbed her arm roughly. "Wait," Lily pleaded, looking around the room desperately. Someone, please, this is not true. Derek, tell them the truth. You took my money, But Derek just laughed. Natalie filmed the whole thing on her phone, smirking behind the lens. The crowd parted as Marcus dragged Lily toward the exit. She heard their whispers following her. I always knew there was something off about her. Poor Constance, having to deal with that for 10 years. Did you see how desperate she looked? Embarrassing. Imagine trying to trap a man with $5,000. Someone stuck out a foot as she passed. Lily stumbled, falling hard on the marble floor, her hands scraping against the stone she had cleaned so many times. Laughter erupted around her, sharp, cruel laughter that would echo in her nightmares for years to come. "Get up," Marcus hissed, yanking her to her feet. He dragged her through the mansion, past the rooms she had cleaned, the floors she had scrubbed, the furniture she had polished, down the stairs to the basement. He threw open the door to her tiny room and pushed her inside hard enough that she stumbled. "You have 1 hour," he said, and slammed the door. Lily sat on her narrow bed in the converted storage room that had been her home for 10 years. The walls were concrete. There was no window. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling, casting harsh shadows. Everything she owned fit into one duffel bag: 3 changes of clothes, a few books, her parents' wedding photo in a cracked frame, and a small wooden box containing her mother's necklace, the only thing of value she had left. Her phone buzzed continuously. She looked at the screen with shaking hands. The video had already gone viral. Natalie had posted it everywhere with the caption, "Charity case tries to steal from her wealthy family. Watch her get exposed." The comments were vicious. "She deserves worse. Ungrateful trash. Why do poor people always think they deserve what rich people have?" Her parents would be ashamed. Lily tried calling the bank. The joint account had been closed. The money was gone. Derek had forged her signature on documents she had never seen. She tried calling anyone who might help. Every call went to voicemail. In a town like Riverside Heights, where the Hartwells owned half the businesses and influenced the rest, nobody would dare cross Constance. She tried logging into the community college portal where she had been planning to enroll. Her application had been withdrawn. A note said, "Due to concerns about character and integrity, your admission has been rescinded." Constance Hartwell's influence reached everywhere. She had not just destroyed Lily tonight. She had made sure Lily would have nowhere to run. An hour later, Marcus returned. "Time's up." He escorted her out the servants' entrance, not even the front door. It was raining. A cold November rain that soaked through her thin jacket immediately. She clutched her duffel bag and the wooden box with her mother's necklace. "Marcus, please," she tried one last time. They had grown up together. Surely there was some small piece of humanity left in him. "We grew up together. You know I did not do this, please." He finally looked at her, and what she saw in his eyes was worse than hatred. It was indifference. "You were never really family, Lily. You were just here. Now you are not." He pressed a $20 bill into her hand. "For the bus, don't come back." The door closed. The lock clicked. Lily stood in the rain, staring at the mansion where she had lived for 10 years, the only home she had known since her parents died. Every window was lit. She could hear music and laughter drifting from the ballroom. The party was still going on. They had already forgotten about her. She had no money, no family, no home, no future. Her phone was blowing up with hateful messages from strangers. Her name was being dragged through social media. Every door she might have turned to was closed. Constance had made sure of that. She was 18 years old, and she had nothing. Lily thought about her parents. She wondered if they could see her from wherever they were. Wondered if Constance was right, if she would die poor and forgotten just like they had. The rain fell harder. She pulled her mother's necklace from the wooden box, clutching it in her fist. It was a simple silver locket with their photo inside, the only proof she had ever been loved. That was when she saw it. Through the rain, through her tears, she looked down at her mother's locket, really looked at it for the first time in years. On the back, barely visible, were initials she had never noticed before. E.H. Not her mother's initials. Her maiden name had been Elena Morgan. She had taken her father's last name when they married. E.H. Elena Hartwell? Her hands shook as she opened the locket. Inside, along with her parents' photo, was something she had never seen before. A tiny piece of paper, folded so small it had been invisible all these years. She unfolded it carefully. The ink was faded, but she could make out her mother's handwriting. "Lily, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm so sorry. I tried to protect you. The truth is buried with your grandmother's lawyer, Thomas Brennan. Find him. The inheritance isn't $5,000. It never was. I love you." "Mom." Lily stood in the rain, staring at those words, her heart pounding. "The inheritance is not $5,000. Thomas Brennan. A name, a thread, a mystery she did not understand." She looked back at the mansion one last time, at the lit windows, at the life that had never really been hers, at the people who had just destroyed her for their entertainment, and she made herself a promise. She would find out the truth. She would survive this. And one day, she would come back. Not for revenge, not for hatred, for justice. As Lily Morgan disappeared into that rainy November night, she had no idea that everything the Hartwells had told her was a lie. She had no idea that she was about to vanish for 8 years, and she had absolutely no idea that when she returned, she would be the one holding all the power. The girl they threw away was about to become the woman they could never destroy. But first, she had to survive. Lily Morgan vanished the night of her 18th birthday. The Hartwells assumed she had ended up broken on the streets, exactly as Constance intended. They went back to their lives, their parties, their carefully curated social media posts. Within a week, they had stopped mentioning her name. Within a month, they had forgotten she ever existed. But Lily had not been destroyed. She had discovered something in her mother's locket, a clue, a name, and a reason to keep fighting. The $20 Marcus gave her bought a bus ticket to Portland, 300 miles away from Riverside Heights. Lily spent that first night in a homeless shelter, clutching her duffel bag and her mother's locket, unable to sleep as strangers coughed and turned on nearby cots. The smell of unwashed bodies and industrial cleaner made her nauseous. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, never quite dark enough for real rest. But she was alive, and that was something. The first year was survival in its rawest form. Lily worked 3 jobs. She waitressed at a diner from 5 in the morning until noon, her feet aching in second-hand shoes as she smiled at customers who barely saw her. She cleaned offices in the afternoon, scrubbing toilets and emptying trash cans, her hands red and raw from cheap cleaning products. At night, she stocked shelves at a 24-hour grocery store, the fluorescent lights and beeping scanners becoming the soundtrack of her existence. She slept 4 hours a night in a shared room at a women's boarding house. 8 women crammed into a space meant for 4, their belongings stuffed under narrow beds, their lives compressed into whatever could fit in a backpack or small suitcase. She ate 1 meal a day, usually whatever was cheapest at the diner, food the cook let her have for free. But she saved every penny she could, and she searched. Thomas Brennan, the lawyer her mother had mentioned, had died 6 years earlier. Lily discovered this after weeks of calling law offices, asking questions, hitting dead ends. But his firm still existed, and his files had been transferred to his partner. It took her 9 months to save enough money for a consultation. 9 months of surviving on scraps, of pushing her body past exhaustion, of telling herself every single day that there had to be more to the story, that her mother would not have left that note if it meant nothing. When Lily finally sat across from attorney Margaret Torres in a modest office in downtown Portland, her hands were shaking. Margaret was in her early 50s, with sharp eyes and gray-streaked dark hair pulled back in a professional bun. She wore a simple blazer and no-nonsense expression that suggested she had seen every kind of human tragedy the law could produce. Lily placed her mother's locket on the desk between them, unfolded the tiny paper with its faded message. Margaret picked up the note, read it once, then read it again. Her face went pale. She looked up at Lily with something like shock in her eyes. "Lily Morgan," she said slowly, carefully. "I wondered if you would ever come." Those words changed everything. What Margaret told her that afternoon shattered every truth Lily had ever believed about her life. Her mother, Elena Morgan, had not been a secretary who worked for the Hartwell family. She had been Elena Hartwell, Constance's daughter. Lily sat frozen as Margaret explained, her voice steady and professional, even as she delivered information that rewrote Lily's entire existence. 30 years ago, Eleanor Hartwell had been the only daughter of William and Constance Hartwell. She had grown up in that mansion, in those rooms, with all the privilege and wealth that came with the Hartwell name. But unlike her mother, Eleanor had possessed something Constance could never understand: a capacity for genuine love. When Elena was 22, she had met James Morgan at a community college, where she had been volunteering as a tutor. James had been studying accounting, working 2 jobs to pay for school, determined to build a life through his own effort rather than inherited wealth. He had been kind, intelligent, honest, everything Eleanor had never seen in the social circles her mother forced her to inhabit. They had fallen in love. Constance had been furious. The working-class man with no family name, no fortune, no connections. Absolutely unacceptable. She had given Elena an ultimatum: leave James and remain part of the Hartwell family and fortune, or marry him and be disowned completely. Elena had chosen love. Constance had cut her off entirely, telling their social circle that Elena had died in a tragic accident. For 22 years, Elena and James had lived modestly but happily. James had worked as an accountant. Eleanor had become an elementary school teacher. They had never asked Constance for anything, never tried to contact the family, never looked back, until Lily was born. Margaret pulled out a thick folder, placing documents on the desk one by one. "Your grandfather, William Hartwell, was a different kind of man than his wife," Margaret explained. "He was devastated when Elena left. He never agreed with Constance's decision to cut her off. And before he died, he did something Constance never knew about." She slid a document across the desk. Lily stared at it, struggling to understand the legal language. "William created a separate trust fund," Margaret continued. $47 million, designated specifically for Elena Hartwell and her descendants. It was his way of making sure his daughter and her children would be provided for, even if Constance refused to acknowledge them. $47 million. The words did not make sense. Lily had grown up on food stamps and hand-me-downs. She had worn shoes with holes in them. She had gone to bed hungry more nights than she could count. "The trust had specific conditions," Margaret said. "It was designed to activate when Elena turned 50 years old, giving her financial security in her later years. Or, if Elena died before that, it would pass to her children when they turned 25. 25, Lily repeated numbly. "Your parents died when you were 8, Margaret said gently, "which meant the trust would activate when you turned 25. That's 7 years from now." "But the $5,000, Lily said, "the inheritance I received when I turned 18, was a fabrication," Margaret said, her voice hard. "Constance knew about your grandfather's trust. She has known for 30 years. When your parents died, she knew you were the sole heir to $47 million. So she created a fake inheritance, just enough to seem real, just enough to steal, just enough to publicly humiliate you with." The pieces clicked together with horrifying clarity. Constance had taken Lily in not out of charity, not out of obligation. She had taken Lily in to control her, to break her down, to make sure that when Lily turned 25 and discovered the truth, she would be too defeated, too convinced of her own worthlessness, to ever claim what was rightfully hers. "The car accident?" Lily whispered. "My parents. You said it happened when I was 8, right before I would have learned the truth. Margaret's expression became even more grave. Your parents were planning to tell you everything when you turned 18, she said carefully. They had an appointment scheduled with Thomas Brennan for 3 weeks after your 8th birthday. They were going to set everything up so you would know the truth at the right time. But they died 3 weeks before that appointment. Yes, the police report says brake failure, but your father was a meticulous man, Lily. He maintained that car religiously. He kept records of every oil change, every inspection, every repair. The implication hung in the air between them, heavy and terrible. You think Constance killed them, Lily said. It was not a question. I think it is a very convenient coincidence, Margaret said carefully. I think Constance had everything to lose if your parents told you about the trust. I think she had the resources to make things happen, but I cannot prove it. Not after all these years. Lily felt numb. Her entire life had been a lie. Her poverty, her suffering, the 10 years of abuse and humiliation, all of it orchestrated by a woman who had stolen her birthright and killed her parents to keep that secret. What do I do? She asked. Margaret leaned forward, her expression intense. You survive, she said firmly. You have 6 years until you turn 25. If Constance discovers you know the truth before then, I genuinely fear for your safety. She has protected this secret for 30 years. She has already eliminated obstacles. The word eliminated made Lily's blood run cold. So I disappear, Lily said, completely. You build a life she cannot touch. You become someone she cannot destroy. And when you turn 25, you come back with every legal weapon available and you take what is yours. Can you help me? I have been waiting 8 years to help you, Margaret said. Your mother gave these files to Thomas before she died. She knew something was wrong. She knew Constance was dangerous. She left instructions that if anything happened to her, we were to keep this information safe until you were old enough to understand and strong enough to fight. She pushed the folder toward Lily. Everything you need is here. DNA evidence proving your parentage, documentation of the trust, proof of Constance's embezzlement. She has been using trust funds as her own for decades. When you are ready, we will take all of this and we will destroy her legally. Lily took the folder with shaking hands. Inside was her history, her truth, her weapon. What if I am not strong enough? She asked quietly. Margaret smiled, and it was fierce. You survived 10 years in that house. You survived public humiliation and abandonment. You survived being thrown out with nothing, and you still found your way here. Lily Morgan, you are stronger than you know. Now you just need to become stronger than she can imagine. The next 6 years became a study in transformation. Lily earned her GED within 6 months, studying in the early morning hours before her shifts at the diner. She applied for every scholarship she could find, writing essay after essay about overcoming adversity, about rising from poverty, about the power of education to change lives. Portland State University accepted her with a full scholarship. She studied business and law, working her 3 jobs to cover living expenses the scholarship did not include. She slept 4 hours a night and lived on coffee and determination. She graduated top of her class. Columbia Law School came next. More scholarships, more work, more late nights studying case law and legal precedent, while her classmates partied and networked and took for granted the futures their families had bought them. But Lily did not become a lawyer. Instead, she became something Constance Hartwell would never see coming, a corporate prosecutor specializing in estate fraud and elder financial abuse. She learned every trick wealthy families used to steal from their own members. She learned how to dismantle their defenses. She learned how to win. She changed her appearance too. Laser eye surgery replaced the glasses she had worn since childhood. She learned to style her hair, to apply makeup, to carry herself with confidence instead of apology. She saved every spare dollar for quality clothes, the kind that signaled power rather than poverty. She built a reputation. She won cases against powerful families who thought their money made them untouchable. She made connections with judges, with federal prosecutors, with people who valued justice over wealth. And through it all, Margaret Torres worked beside her, building the case against Constance Hartwell piece by piece. They gathered evidence of embezzlement. They documented 30 years of financial fraud. They prepared legal filings that would freeze assets and force audits. They built a case so airtight that no amount of money or influence could dismantle it. Lily turned 24, then 25. On her 25th birthday in a modest apartment in New York City that she had earned with her own work, Lily looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the girl who had stood in the rain 8 years ago. That girl had been broken, defeated, convinced she was worthless. This woman was a prosecutor with an impeccable record, a law school graduate with honors. Someone who had clawed her way up from nothing and learned to stand in rooms full of powerful people without flinching. Margaret called that evening. "Happy birthday," she said. "Are you ready?" Lily thought about her parents, about her mother's note, about 8 years of survival and transformation, about a grandmother who had stolen everything and thought she had won. "File the paperwork," Lily said. "It is time to go home." While Lily had been building herself into someone unbreakable, the Hartwells had been falling apart. Marcus had taken over the family business with all the confidence of someone who had never had to earn anything. Within 3 years, he had run it into the ground through poor decisions and excessive spending. The company hemorrhaged money, saved only by mysterious trust funds that Marcus assumed were part of the general Hartwell fortune. Natalie's influencer career had collapsed after a series of scandals. Videos emerged of her treating service workers poorly, speaking to assistants with casual cruelty, displaying the exact entitled behavior that audiences were beginning to reject. Her follower count plummeted. Brands dropped their sponsorships. Her engagement to Derek had ended spectacularly when he had been caught stealing from her, a piece of irony so perfect Lily almost laughed when she heard about it. And Constance? She had grown more bitter with each passing year, more controlling, more desperate to maintain her grip on the family's fading prestige. None of them knew that the money keeping them afloat, the trust fund that had grown to $73 million with interest and careful investment, was not theirs at all. They were about to learn the truth. On a Tuesday morning in late spring, Margaret Torres filed the paperwork to activate William Hartwell's trust. The legal machinery began to move. Court orders were issued. Assets were flagged for investigation. And Lily Morgan booked a flight back to Riverside Heights. 8 years ago, she had left that town with nothing but a duffel bag and a locket and $20. She had been broken and desperate and convinced she was exactly what Constance said she was. Worthless. She was returning as someone entirely different. The Hartwells had forgotten about the girl they destroyed. They had moved on with their lives, secure in their wealth and status, never imagining that the past could rise up to devour them. But Lily had not forgotten. She had spent 8 years preparing for this moment. 8 years becoming someone who could stand in front of Constance Hartwell and take back everything that had been stolen. Justice, she had learned, required patience. It required strength. It required becoming powerful enough that the people who hurt you could not hurt you anymore. Lily Morgan was finally powerful enough, and she was coming home. When Constance Hartwell walked into her private study that Tuesday morning, she expected another ordinary day of managing her empire. The study was her sanctuary, dark wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes she had never read, a massive mahogany desk that had belonged to her late husband. This was where she made the decisions that controlled her family, where she held court over her diminishing fortune, where she felt most powerful. She stopped in the doorway. Someone was sitting in her chair, a woman in her mid-20s, wearing a tailored charcoal grey suit that Constance recognized immediately as Armani. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek chignon. She sat with perfect posture, legs crossed, hands folded calmly on the desk. Behind her stood attorney Margaret Torres and a uniformed court officer. "Who the hell are you?" Constance demanded, her voice sharp with authority that had intimidated people for decades. "How did you get into my house?" "Court order, ma'am," the officer said, holding up official documents. "This woman has legal authority to be here." "Legal authority? This is my house. This is my private—" "Actually," the woman in the chair said, speaking for the first time, "that is what we need to discuss." Her voice was calm, controlled, cold in a way that made something uncomfortable twist in Constance's stomach. There was something familiar about those eyes, something that made Constance's breath catch. The woman stood, and for the first time, Constance got a full look at her face. Dark hair where there had once been mousy brown, confidence where there had been cowering, designer clothes where there had been thrift store rags. But those eyes were the same ones Constance had seen filled with tears 8 years ago. "My name is Lily Morgan," the woman said, "though I do not expect you to recognize me. It has been 8 years after all. The last time you saw me, you threw me out in the rain with a $20 bill and told me I would die poor and forgotten." Constance's face drained of color. Her hand reached for the desk to steady herself. "That is impossible," she whispered. "You are—" "I am what? Still supposed to be broken? Still supposed to be nothing?" Lily's voice remained perfectly controlled, but there was steel beneath the silk. "I am afraid I disappointed you in that regard." She gestured to the chair across the desk, Constance's own desk, in Constance's own study. "Please sit down," Lily said. "We have a great deal to discuss." "I will not sit down in my own—" "This is not your house, Mrs. Hartwell." Lily's interruption was quiet but absolute. "This conversation is happening whether you sit or stand, but I would recommend sitting. You are going to want to be sitting for what comes next." Something in Lily's tone, the absolute certainty, the quiet power, made Constance sink into the chair. She hated herself for the weakness, but her legs suddenly felt unsteady. Margaret Torres stepped forward, placing a manila folder on the desk and opening it with practiced efficiency. "Mrs. Hartwell?" Margaret began, her voice professional and clipped. "I am sure you remember me. I was Thomas Brennan's partner. I have spent the last 8 years preparing for this meeting." "Preparing what? This is absurd. That girl has no—" "That girl," Lily interrupted softly, "is your granddaughter." The room went silent. The word hung in the air, like a bomb that had not yet exploded, but everyone knew was about to. "What?" Constance's voice came out as a whisper. Lily leaned forward slightly, her hands still folded calmly on the desk. "My mother was Elena Hartwell," she said, each word deliberate and clear. "Your daughter, the one you disowned for marrying my father, the one you told everyone was dead, the one whose existence you erased from family history." "Elena was nothing to me," Constance said automatically, but her voice wavered. "I have no—" "You have a granddaughter," Lily continued, as if Constance had not spoken. "Me. And under William Hartwell's trust, your late husband, my grandfather, I am entitled to certain assets that have been in your control for the past 25 years. Margaret placed the first document in front of Constance. It was yellowed with age, but the legal language was clear and binding. "This is the original trust document," Margaret explained, "created by William Hartwell 30 years ago. It establishes a separate trust fund of $47 million, designated specifically for his daughter Eleanor and her descendants." Constance's hand shook as she reached for the document. Her eyes scanned the pages, and with each line she read, her face grew paler. "That money was supposed to activate when Eleanor turned 50, Margaret continued, placing another document on top of the first, "or upon her death, pass to her children when they turn 25. Lily turned 25 last week." "This is a forgery," Constance said, but her voice had no strength behind it. "William would never—" DNA tests confirm Lily's parentage, Margaret said, cutting through the denial with cold facts. She placed 3 separate reports on the desk, each from a different certified laboratory. These were conducted by independent, court-approved facilities. Lily Morgan is Elena Hartwell's daughter. She is William Hartwell's granddaughter. She is your biological granddaughter, whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. Constance looked at Lily with something like horror dawning in her eyes. The resemblance was there, had always been there, but she had refused to see it. Eleanor's eyes, William's stubborn chin, the Hartwell features that no amount of denial could erase. For 25 years, Lily said quietly, standing and walking to the window that overlooked the estate, you have been using money that was never yours. The trust has been generating income that you have been spending on your lifestyle, your mansion, your social standing. But every cent of that $47 million, now worth $73 million with accumulated interest, belongs to me. That is impossible, Constance said, but it was the protest of someone who knew they were already defeated. The family accounts were never properly separated, Margaret interjected. You have been commingling your personal funds with trust funds for decades. That is illegal, Mrs. Hartwell. We have documentation showing how you have used trust money for personal expenses, your cars, your properties, Natalie's influencer career, Marcus's business ventures, all of it funded with money that should have been held in trust for Lily. Lily turned from the window, and the morning light behind her made her seem almost ethereal, but there was nothing soft about her expression. You threw me out with nothing, grandmother, she said, and the word grandmother dripped with bitter irony. You told me I was worthless. You told me I would die poor and forgotten. You took my home, my dignity, my future. You made me believe I was exactly what you said I was, a burden, a charity case, someone who deserved nothing. She walked back to the desk, placing her hands on its surface and leaning forward to look Constance directly in the eyes. But you did not take what actually mattered. You did not take my mother's love. You did not take my father's memory. You did not take my will to survive. And you did not take what was legally mine because you thought I would never discover it existed. Constance's lips moved, but no sound came out. The court has issued an immediate injunction, Margaret said, her voice crisp and professional. All Hartwell family accounts containing trust funds are frozen as of this morning. A forensic audit is underway. Lily is filing suit for full recovery of the trust, all accumulated interest and damages for fraudulent use of her inheritance. You cannot do this, Constance whispered, and for the first time in her life she sounded old, frightened. This family, the reputation built on stolen money, Lily asked. The reputation maintained by destroying an 18-year-old girl. That reputation. She placed a printed photograph on the desk. It was a still frame from the viral video. Lily standing in her thrift store dress, tears streaming down her face, the entire ballroom laughing at her humiliation. This video has been viewed 47 million times, Lily said. For 8 years it has followed me everywhere. Every time I applied for a job, went on a date, tried to build a life, there it was. Charity case gets exposed. Poor girl tries to trap rich boyfriend. Ungrateful orphan steals from family. Her voice remained calm, but Constance could see the pain beneath it. The years of suffering compressed into those quiet words. I became a prosecutor, grandmother. Do you know why? Because I spent 8 years watching powerful people destroy powerless ones and get away with it. I spent 8 years being proof that wealth can erase a person. So I learned the law. I learned how to fight back. I learned how to take power away from people who abuse it. She leaned down closer, her face inches from Constance's. You wanted me to die poor and forgotten. Instead, I'm going to be the person who exposes everything you have done. The stolen inheritance, the embezzlement, the way you have manipulated this family for 30 years. She paused, and her next words were barely a whisper. And if my suspicions are correct, the way my parents really died. Constance's face went grey as ash. That is right, Lily said, straightening. I know about the brake failure. I know about the convenient timing. I know you had access to their garage through the property management company you owned. I have spent 8 years gathering evidence, and I have investigators looking into it right now. You cannot prove... Constance started, but her voice broke. Maybe not. Maybe the statute of limitations has passed. Maybe there is not enough evidence after all these years. Lily picked up her briefcase from beside the chair. But I do not need a criminal conviction to destroy you, grandmother. I just need the truth to come out. I need people to ask questions. I need your reputation, the one thing you value more than anything, to crumble the way you tried to make me crumble. She walked toward the door, Margaret and the court officer falling into step beside her. Wait, Constance said, her voice cracking. Lily paused but did not turn around. I was trying to protect this family, Constance said, and there was something almost desperate in her voice now. Elena made her choice. She chose that man over her own blood. I could not let her pull this family down with her. I could not let you... You could not let me what? Lily turned slowly. Be loved? Have a family? Access money that was legally mine? Or did you just not want to admit that your daughter was happy without you? That love mattered more than money? That maybe, just maybe, you were wrong? Constance said nothing. I did not come back for your apology, grandmother. I came back for justice. The court will decide what you owe me financially. But personally, Lily's voice softened with something that might have been pity. You already gave me the worst thing you had to offer. You taught me that family means nothing to you, that cruelty is your first language, that you would rather destroy a child than admit you were wrong about her mother. She opened the door. I hope it was worth it, because when this is over, everyone will know what you are, and unlike me, you actually will die forgotten, because no one will want to remember you. Lily walked out, leaving Constance sitting alone in the study that would soon no longer be hers. The lawsuit became a media sensation within hours. Missing heiress returns to claim $73 million fortune. Wealthy matriarch accused of hiding granddaughter's inheritance. The Cinderella story that is actually true. But Lily was not interested in being a media darling. She had Margaret handle all press inquiries with a simple statement. Ms. Morgan is focused on legal proceedings and has no comment at this time. What Lily was interested in was the forensic audit. It took 3 weeks, and what the investigators uncovered was even worse than Margaret had suspected. Constance had not just hidden the trust, she had systematically looted it for 30 years. Every major purchase, every investment, every business decision had been funded with money that should have been held separate and untouched. The mansion, the cars, the jewelry, the social standing, all of it built on stolen wealth. But that was not the worst discovery. Buried in the financial records, the forensic accountants found something that made Margaret call Lily into her office with an expression of barely contained fury. Letters, correspondence, a paper trail that Constance had been arrogant enough or careless enough to keep. Letters between Constance Hartwell and a man named Harold Foster, a private investigator. Multiple exchanges over the years, all involving what Constance delicately referred to as sensitive family matters. And then the smoking gun. A letter dated November 15th, 2018, exactly 1 week before Lily's parents had died in their car accident. Margaret slid it across the desk, and Lily read it with hands that started shaking halfway through. Mr. Foster, as discussed, the matter must be resolved before the child turns 18. If Elena reveals the trust information to her daughter, everything I have built will collapse. I need permanent solutions, not temporary obstacles. The amount we discussed will be wired upon completion. Destroy this letter after reading. CH. Permanent solutions. The words seemed to pulse on the page. Lily looked up at Margaret. her face drained of color. "There is more," Margaret said quietly. She showed Lily bank records, wire transfers. $200,000 transferred to Harold Foster's account the day after Lily's parents died. "She paid him," Lily whispered. "She paid someone to kill my parents." "Harold Foster died in 2020, Margaret said, "but his records still exist. I have already contacted the FBI. They are opening an investigation." Lily stared at the letter, at the proof that her parents had not died in an accident. They had been murdered. Murdered by a woman who valued money more than her own daughter's life, who had stolen Lily's inheritance and then killed Lily's parents to keep that theft secret. "Even if we can prove it," Margaret said gently, "Constance is 82 years old. She might die before she ever faces trial for this." "I do not care about a trial," Lily said, her voice hollow. "I care about everyone knowing the truth." 3 days later, Lily held a press conference. She stood in front of 20 cameras and 50 reporters in a conference room Margaret had rented downtown. She wore a navy suit and no jewelry except her mother's locket. She looked directly into the cameras and told the truth. All of it. She told them about being the hidden granddaughter, about the stolen trust fund, about 10 years of abuse disguised as charity, about being publicly humiliated and thrown out with nothing. And then she showed them the letter. "I also have evidence," she said, her voice steady despite the rage and grief churning inside her, "that suggests Constance Hartwell may have been involved in my parents' deaths. The FBI is currently investigating, but regardless of what they find, I want everyone to understand something." She looked directly into the camera, and her next words were spoken with absolute clarity. "My parents died because a wealthy woman could not accept that her daughter chose love over money. I spent 8 years suffering because that same woman would rather destroy a child than admit she was wrong. This is not just about stolen wealth. This is about what happens when power goes unchecked, when cruelty has no consequences, when the wealthy believe they can erase people who inconvenience them." The room erupted with questions, but Lily held up a hand. "I want what is legally mine. I want Constance Hartwell held accountable for 30 years of fraud. And I want the truth about how my parents died. That is all." She walked out of the press conference and let Margaret handle the follow-up. The story exploded across every news outlet. Social media erupted. The old viral video resurfaced, but this time with new context. People were not laughing at Lily anymore. They were outraged on her behalf. This charity case was actually the legal heiress, and they were publicly destroying her to hide it. They traumatized and robbed their own granddaughter. This is not a scam. This is a woman taking back what was stolen from her. The court of public opinion turned against the Hartwells with the same vicious speed it had once turned against Lily. And in the Hartwell mansion, the family was tearing itself apart. The forensic audit took 3 weeks to complete. What investigators found went far beyond simple theft. Buried in decades of financial records, hidden in carefully maintained accounts and falsified documents, was evidence of something much darker. Something that would transform Lily's civil lawsuit into a criminal investigation. Something that proved Constance Hartwell was not just a thief, she was a murderer. The media frenzy had not died down. If anything, it had intensified. Reporters camped outside the Hartwell mansion. News vans lined the street. Every detail of the case was dissected on television, debated on social media, analyzed by legal experts who all agreed on one thing. Lily Morgan had an airtight case. But Lily was not watching the news. She was in Margaret's office, reading through the evidence that would destroy Constance Hartwell completely. The financial crimes were extensive. Constance had been embezzling from the trust for 30 years, using the money to prop up failing businesses, fund her extravagant lifestyle, and maintain the illusion of Hartwell wealth and power. She had falsified tax documents, created shell corporations, and moved money through accounts designed to hide the theft. It was fraud on a massive scale. But that was not what made Margaret's hands shake as she placed the final folder on her desk. "Lily," Margaret said quietly, "there is something else you need to see." She opened the folder. Inside were more letters, more correspondence between Constance and Harold Foster. The private investigator had kept meticulous records, probably as insurance against his employer. Those records had been stored with his attorney after his death, and the FBI had obtained them through a subpoena. Margaret spread them across the desk like evidence at a crime scene, which Lily realized with growing horror was exactly what they were. The earliest letter was dated 15 years ago. Harold Foster reporting on Elena and James Morgan's daily activities, where they worked, what car they drove, their routine. A surveillance report on Lily's parents. More letters followed, years of them. Constance had been watching her daughter for over a decade, tracking her movements, monitoring her life like a predator stalking prey. Then came the letter from November 8, 2018, 2 weeks before the accident. "Mrs. Hartwell, as per your request, I have confirmed that the subjects plan to meet with attorney Thomas Brennan on December 5th regarding their daughter's future. Based on recovered documents, they intend to inform the minor of the trust fund upon her 18th birthday. Time is running short if you wish to prevent this disclosure." Lily's hands trembled as she read. Her parents had been planning to tell her. They had been 2 weeks away from revealing everything. The next letter was dated November 15th, the one Margaret had shown her before, but now with full context, it was even more damning. "Mr. Foster, as discussed, the matter must be resolved before the child turns 18. If Elena reveals the trust information to her daughter, everything I have built will collapse. I need permanent solutions, not temporary obstacles. The amount we discussed will be wired upon completion. Destroy this letter after reading. Permanent solutions." Lily felt bile rise in her throat. The final letter was dated November 23rd, the day after her parents died. Brief, cold, transactional. Payment received. Matter resolved. Brake line failure will be ruled accidental. Local police have been cooperative. Recommend no further contact. Margaret placed one more document on the desk. Her bank statement, showing a wire transfer of $200,000 from a Hartwell family account to Harold Foster on November 23rd, 2018. "She paid him," Lily said, her voice breaking. "She paid him to murder my parents." "The FBI has all of this," Margaret said. "They are building a case. Harold Foster is dead, but they have his records, his communications, even some physical evidence he kept. They found notes about accessing the Morgan vehicle through a parking garage maintenance entrance, details about which brake line to cut to make it look like wear and tear." Lily closed her eyes. Her parents had not died in an accident. They had been murdered in cold blood by a woman who valued money more than human life. A woman who had then taken in their orphaned daughter, not out of kindness, but to control and eventually destroy her. "There is more," Margaret said gently. "The investigators found evidence that Constance had been working with the local police in Riverside Heights for years. Donations to the Police Benevolent Fund, personal relationships with key officials. When your parents died, the accident investigation was rushed through in 48 hours. No real forensic examination, no questions asked. She bought them," Lily whispered. "She bought their silence. She has been using her influence to control this town for decades." "But Lily," Margaret leaned forward, "this is federal now. The FBI does not care about Constance Hartwell's social standing. They have her for conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, and about 17 other charges. She is going to prison." "Will she die there?" Lily asked. It was not said with hatred, just a weary need to know if justice would actually be served. "She is 82. A 15-year sentence means she dies in federal prison." "Yes," Lily nodded slowly. It should have felt like victory. It felt like drowning. The FBI arrested Constance Hartwell 3 days later. The footage made national news, federal agents arriving at the mansion at dawn, Constance being led out in handcuffs, her designer dress wrinkled, her perfect hair disheveled for the first time in living memory. She looked small, fragile, almost pitiable, until you remembered what she had done. The charges were read at her arraignment: conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, embezzlement, obstruction of justice, tax evasion. The list went on. The judge denied bail, citing flight risk and the severity of the crimes. Constance Hartwell, who had ruled Riverside Heights society for 50 years, was going to await trial in a federal detention center. The Hartwell family imploded. Natalie tried to defend her grandmother on social media at first, posting tearful videos about family loyalty and false accusations. But people found the old viral video of Lily's humiliation and reposted it with new captions. This woman helped torture and rob the legal heiress. She knew the whole time that Lily was family, and she destroyed her anyway. The cruelty was the point. They enjoyed it. Natalie's remaining followers turned on her viciously. Brands that had already dropped her issued statements condemning her involvement. She deleted all her social media accounts within a week. Marcus fared no better. When reporters discovered that his entire business career had been funded with stolen trust money, his investors fled. The company collapsed. He filed for bankruptcy. His wife left him, taking their 2 children and moving back to her parents' estate in Connecticut. Derek tried to reach out to Lily through Margaret's office. Her long, rambling email about how he had been young and stupid, how Natalie had paid him $10,000 to seduce and rob Lily, how he regretted everything. Margaret asked if Lily wanted to read it. "Delete it," Lily said. "He does not exist to me anymore." The trial began 4 months later. It lasted 3 months. Every day, new revelations emerged. Financial experts testified about the embezzlement. FBI agents presented evidence of the murder conspiracy. Former Hartwell employees came forward with stories of abuse and manipulation that had been silenced for years by fear of Constance's power. Lily testified for 2 days. She sat in the witness box and told her story. The 10 years of emotional abuse, the public humiliation, being thrown out with nothing, finding her mother's note, the 8 years of rebuilding herself from nothing. The defense tried to paint her as a vengeful opportunist. But Lily remained calm, answering every question with quiet dignity. She did not cry. She did not rage. She simply told the truth. "Did you love your grandmother?" the defense attorney asked, trying to establish that Lily had never really been family. "I wanted to," Lily said simply. "I spent 10 years hoping she might love me back. But Constance Hartwell does not know how to love. She only knows how to control." Natalie was called to testify. She sat in the witness box looking miserable, forced to explain her role in Lily's humiliation. Under oath, she admitted that Constance had encouraged it, had helped plan it, had told Natalie it was necessary to keep Lily broken and compliant. She said Lily needed to know her place, Natalie testified, not meeting Lily's eyes. She said if Lily got confident or independent, it would cause problems for the family. "What kind of problems?" the prosecutor asked. "I did not know then. I know now. She meant the trust fund. She meant that Lily might discover she was the real heir." Marcus testified too, about the financial manipulation, about how he had believed he was managing family money, never knowing it was stolen trust funds, about how his grandmother had praised his business decisions while secretly funneling Lily's inheritance into his failing ventures. "Did you know Lily was your cousin?" the prosecutor asked. "No. Grandmother told us she was the daughter of a former employee, someone we were helping out of charity. I believed her." Marcus finally looked at Lily. "I am sorry. I should have questioned it. I should have been kinder. I should have protected you instead of hurting you." Lily said nothing. Some apologies came too late to matter. The most damning testimony came from a former Riverside Heights police detective who had been involved in the investigation of Lily's parents' death. Offered immunity in exchange for his cooperation, he admitted that Constance had made a substantial donation to the department the month before the accident, that he had been instructed to close the case quickly. That evidence suggesting foul play had been deliberately overlooked. "Why did you do it?" the prosecutor asked. "Because Constance Hartwell owned this town. You did not cross her. You did not question her. If she wanted something done, you did it, or you found yourself without a job, without friends, without a future. She had that kind of power. Until now," the prosecutor said. "Until now," the detective agreed, looking at Lily with something like regret. The defense tried everything. They claimed Constance was a frail elderly woman being persecuted by a vindictive gold digger. They argued that the letters to Harold Foster were taken out of context. They suggested that Lily had fabricated evidence or manipulated the investigation, but the evidence spoke for itself. DNA tests, financial records, surveillance reports, bank transfers, witness testimony. Harold Foster's detailed notes describing exactly how he had sabotaged the Morgans' vehicle. The jury deliberated for 4 days. When they returned, the forewoman stood and read the verdict. Guilty on all 17 counts. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled to call in the news. Constance sat motionless in her chair, her face blank, as if she could not quite comprehend what had happened. The judge ordered a restitution hearing for the following week. Constance was remanded to custody immediately. As the bailiffs led her away, she looked at Lily one last time. Lily had expected to see hatred, defiance, the cold arrogance that had defined Constance for 8 decades. Instead, she saw confusion. As if Constance genuinely could not understand how everything had gone so wrong. As if she truly believed she had been right to do what she did. "You destroyed your own daughter," Lily said quietly, just loud enough for Constance to hear. "You destroyed your granddaughter. You destroyed your family, and for what? Money you could not take with you anyway?" Constance opened her mouth as if to answer, but no words came out. The bailiffs led her away, and Lily watched her disappear through the courtroom doors. It should have felt like victory. The sentencing hearing came a week later. The judge was thorough and unsparing in his remarks. "Mrs. Hartwell, you have been convicted of some of the most callous and calculated crimes this court has seen. You murdered your own daughter and son-in-law to steal from your granddaughter. You spent 30 years embezzling from a trust meant to protect that child. You emotionally and psychologically abused her for 10 years, and when she reached adulthood, you orchestrated her public humiliation and abandonment. You have shown no remorse, no recognition of the harm you have caused, no humanity whatsoever." He sentenced her to 15 years in federal prison on each count, to be served consecutively. Even with the possibility of parole, Constance would die behind bars. The judge also ordered full restitution. The $73 million trust fund plus an additional $23 million in damages. The Hartwell estate would be liquidated to pay what was owed. Constance Hartwell, who had spent her life accumulating wealth and power, would leave this world with nothing. As they led her out of the courtroom for the final time, she did not look back. Lily sat in the courtroom long after everyone else had left. Margaret sat beside her, saying nothing, just being present. "I won," Lily finally said. It sounded like a question. "You won," Margaret confirmed. "Then why does it feel like this?" "Because justice is not the same as healing," Margaret said gently. "You got justice today. Healing takes longer." Lily nodded slowly. She thought about her parents, about her mother's letters that she still had not finished reading, about her father's careful maintenance of a car that had been sabotaged anyway, about 8 years of survival and transformation that should not have been necessary. She had won. The money was hers. Constance was in prison. The truth was exposed, but her parents were still dead. Her childhood was still stolen. The girl she might have been without all this trauma was gone forever. "What do I do now?" she asked. Margaret smiled. "Now? You decide who you want to become. You have spent 8 years surviving and fighting. Now you get to live. Really live. That is the victory Constance can never take away." Lily stood, straightening her shoulders. She walked out of the courthouse into the afternoon sun. Reporters shouted questions, but she ignored them. She had testified. She had told her story. She had seen justice served. Now, finally, she could begin to heal. But first, there was one more thing she needed to do. One final truth she needed to face. Margaret had told her there was a sealed box, letters from her mother, words that had been waiting for her for years. It was time to read them. 3 weeks after the verdict, Lily sat in her modest apartment feeling hollow. She had won. The trust fund was hers. Constance was in prison serving a sentence she would never finish. The Hartwell empire had crumbled. Justice had been served in the most complete way possible. So why did it feel like something was still missing? That was when Margaret called. "Lily?" Her voice was gentle, almost hesitant. "I found something in the final archived boxes from Thomas Brennan's estate. Something your mother left for you. Can you come to my office?" An hour later, Lily stood in Margaret's conference room, staring at a sealed wooden box on the table. It was small, plain, unremarkable, except for the label written in faded ink. Eleanor Hartwell, to be opened only by Lily Morgan after age 25. "Your mother gave this to Thomas before she died," Margaret explained. "She had specific instructions. If anything happened to her before you turned 25, he was supposed to keep it safe. When Thomas died, the box went into storage with specific instructions to his successor, me." Lily's hands trembled as she reached for the box. Inside were letters, dozens of them. Envelopes with dates spanning 8 years from the time her mother left the Hartwell family until just before she died. She picked up the first one. The paper was soft with age, the ink slightly faded. Her mother's handwriting. "My dearest Lily, you are 3 years old as I write this. You are sleeping in your bed with your favorite stuffed rabbit, completely unaware that your grandmother wants nothing to do with you." Lily sank into a chair, and Margaret quietly left the room, closing the door behind her. Lily read through years of her mother's life compressed into careful words on aging paper. Eleanor wrote about her childhood under Constance's control, the emotional manipulation, the impossible standards, the way love was always conditional on obedience and perfection. She wrote about meeting James Morgan, about discovering what real love felt like for the first time, about the joy of choosing happiness over wealth, about the terror of Constance's threats. She called today. First time in 2 years. She said, "If I ever try to contact the family or claim the trust your grandfather created, she will make sure you suffer." She said, "I will make sure that little girl knows she is worthless. It will be easy to destroy a child's future. Your father wants to fight her in court, but I am terrified, not for me, for you. Constance values money and control above everything, even her own child. I know what she is capable of." The letters continued through the years. Elena wrote about the trust fund William had secretly created, about Constance's legal threats, claiming Elena had manipulated her dying father, about the constant fear that Constance would find a way to hurt Lily. Then came the letters from the final months before the accident. "Lily, you are almost 18 now. In these final letters, I need to tell you difficult truths. First, I know Constance is dangerous. I know she is monitoring us. Strange cars follow us. Our phones act strange. People ask questions they should not know to ask. Your father thinks I am paranoid, but I see the signs." Lily's hands shook as she read the next paragraph. "If you are reading this, something happened to us. And if it happened right before your 18th birthday, Lily, it was not an accident." The words blurred as tears filled Lily's eyes. "Second, I made a choice. A terrible, impossible choice. I took you to Constance after your father and I drafted our wills. I made a deal with her. I told her that if anything happened to me before you turned 25, everything I knew about the family's financial irregularities would be released to authorities. I set up a safeguard with Thomas Brennan, documents that would automatically be released if I died suspiciously. Lily could barely breathe. Constance agreed to take you in and keep you safe until you turned 25 and could claim the trust. She promised. I believed her because I had to, because I had no other way to protect you. But Lily, I see now that I made a terrible mistake. The next words cut deeper than anything Constance had ever said. Constance will never just let you have that money. She will break you down, make you believe you are worthless, destroy your spirit so completely that even if you learn about the trust, you will not feel worthy of claiming it. Her mother had known exactly what would happen. So I'm writing this. You are worthy. You are my daughter, your father's daughter, your grandfather's granddaughter. You are loved. You are brilliant. You are deserving of every good thing in this world. Whatever Constance does to you in the years after I am gone, whatever she says, whatever she makes you believe about yourself, it is a lie. Lily pressed the letter to her chest, sobbing. You are not a burden. You are not charity. You are not worthless. You are my greatest joy, my proudest achievement, my hope for the future. And when you are 25, when you read this, I pray you have survived her cruelty. I pray you still remember that you were loved. I pray you find the strength to take what is yours and build the life your father and I dreamed for you. The final paragraph destroyed her. But more than the money, more than justice, more than anything, I pray you never let Constance steal what matters most. Your knowledge that you are loved, you are worthy, and you are enough. All my love, forever and always, Mom. Lily read the letter 3 times before she could breathe normally again. Her mother had known she was sending Lily into hell, had known Constance would torture her, had chosen emotional abuse over physical death because it was the only choice that kept Lily alive. And Constance had violated even that terrible bargain. Had not just kept Lily safe, she had systematically destroyed her, then thrown her away. Margaret returned hours later to find Lily surrounded by letters, her face streaked with tears. She knew, Lily whispered. She knew what Constance would do to me, and she still left me there. She made the choice she thought would keep you alive, Margaret said gently, sitting beside her. And she was right. If she had tried to fight Constance openly, if she had kept you away from her, do you think you would be sitting here now? Or would you have had an accident too? The question hung in the air, terrible and unanswerable. Your mother gambled that you were strong enough to survive Constance's cruelty and still find your way to the truth. She was right. You did survive. You did find the truth. And now you have the power to make sure Constance can never hurt anyone else. But it should not have been necessary, Lily said, her voice breaking. None of it should have been necessary. No, Margaret agreed. It should not have. But it was. And you survived anyway. That matters. 1 month later, Lily visited Constance in prison. She had not planned to, had told herself she was done, that there was nothing left to say. But she needed to know if her mother's sacrifice had meant anything at all to the woman who had betrayed it. Constance looked smaller in the orange prison uniform, older. The expensive clothes and perfect styling had hidden how frail she truly was, but her eyes were still cold when she saw Lily sit down across from her. I read my mother's letters, Lily said without preamble, the ones she wrote before she died. She made a deal with you. She brought me to you because she thought it would keep me safe. She believed you would honor your promise. Constance's expression did not change. I did keep you safe, she said flatly. You are alive, are you not? You kept me alive, Lily agreed, but you broke everything else. 10 years of convincing me I was worthless, traumatizing me, throwing me away when I was most vulnerable. My mother trusted you with the one thing that mattered most to her, and you used that trust to torture her daughter.
I gave you a home. You gave me a cage.
The words exploded out of Lily. My mother made an impossible choice to protect me, and you turned it into 10 years of hell. You could have just kept me safe like you promised. You could have been neutral, but you needed to break me, to make sure I never felt worthy of claiming what was mine. For the first time, something flickered in Constance's eyes, not quite remorse, maybe recognition. Did you even love her? Lily asked quietly. Your own daughter. Did you love her at all? The silence stretched between them. I loved what she could have been, Constance finally said. The daughter who would have made me proud, who would have married well and continued the family legacy. But Elena threw it all away for that man. She chose happiness over money, Lily said, and you could not stand it because it meant she did not need you. It meant your money was not enough to keep her. Constance looked away. You destroyed your own daughter, your granddaughter, your family, Lily continued. And for what? Money you could not take with you. Control you lost anyway. Constance said nothing. Lily stood to leave. Your mother would be proud of you, Constance said quietly. Lily stopped. No, she said without turning around. She would be heartbroken that I had to fight at all, but my father would be proud because he would see that I fought for justice, not revenge, that I did not become like you, that I chose to build something good instead of just destroying something bad. She walked toward the door. I hope it was worth it, Lily said, because you will die here, alone and forgotten. Not because of the money, but because you never learned that love was always the only thing that mattered. She walked out and never looked back. 6 months after Constance's conviction, Lily stood in front of a building in downtown Riverside Heights. The structure had once been Hartwell Foundation headquarters, a monument to wealth and influence built on stolen money. But the sign above the door had changed. The Elena and James Morgan Foundation, providing legal support and financial assistance to young people exploited by those who should have protected them. Today was opening day. It would have been her mother's 55th birthday. The foundation became everything Lily had promised. In its first year, it helped 63 young people escape abusive guardianships, fight estate fraud, and access resources they had been denied. Each case reminded Lily of herself at 18, broken but not defeated, hurt but still hoping. Constance died in federal prison 18 months after her conviction. Heart failure. The funeral was small. Marcus attended, Natalie did not. Fewer than 20 people showed up, mostly business associates fulfilling obligations rather than mourning. She died alone, Margaret told Lily afterward, just like she made everyone else feel alone. A week later, a package arrived. Marcus had sent their grandfather's watch with a note. He would have wanted you to have this. I am sorry. Lily wore the watch sometimes, not as connection to the Hartwells, but as reminder that even in broken families, small moments of love still mattered. She bought a small house with a garden where she planted her mother's favorite flowers. She hung her parents' photo in the living room and framed her mother's letters along the hallway. She still worked as a prosecutor part-time, but most of her energy went to the foundation. Helping others heal became her own healing. 2 years after the foundation opened, a young woman came to the office. She was 19, wearing thrift store clothes, carrying everything she owned in a backpack. Her grandmother had kicked her out after stealing her college fund. Her name was Sophie. Lily saw herself instantly in the fear and shame and desperate hope on Sophie's face. Sit down, Lily said gently. Tell me your story. As Sophie cried through her explanation, Lily called their attorney and housing coordinator, arranging immediate help. When Sophie looked at her with grateful, desperate eyes and said, "Thank you. I do not know what I would have done," Lily stopped her. "You would have survived. You would have found a way. You are stronger than you know." "I do not feel strong," Sophie whispered. "I feel broken." "I know," Lily said. I felt that way too. But broken is not the same as defeated. Broken can be healed. And you are going to heal. I promise. Sophie looked at her like she had given her something more valuable than legal help, like she had given her hope. And maybe that was the point of everything. To take the pain Constance had inflicted and transform it into hope for someone else. To prove that dying poor and forgotten was never the destiny, that living rich in what mattered was always the choice. 10 years after that rainy night, Lily stood before 1,000 people receiving a humanitarian award. The foundation had helped over 500 young people and opened 3 locations. In her acceptance speech, she talked about her parents, about love and integrity, about her grandfather who tried to protect his daughter's future. Someone once told me I would die poor and forgotten, she said, looking directly into the cameras. She was wrong on both counts, but more importantly, she was wrong about what poverty and wealth actually mean. I spent 10 years rich in money but poor in love. I spent 8 years poor in money but rich in purpose. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, purpose, love, dignity, and justice are the only riches that matter. To every young person who has been told they are worthless, who has been humiliated, who has been broken by someone who should have protected them, you are not what they said you are. You are not defined by how you were treated. You are defined by how you choose to rise. Rise with dignity. Rise with purpose. Rise knowing you are worthy of every good thing. And when you rise, reach back and help someone else climb. The audience stood and applauded. After the ceremony, Sophie, now in college, thriving, transformed, hugged Lily tightly. "You saved my life," she said. "No," Lily corrected gently. "I gave you tools. You saved yourself." That night, Lily went home to her cozy house with its garden and photos and framed letters. She opened the locket she wore every day and added something new, a tiny photo of Sophie smiling, because that was what it had all been for, not revenge, not wealth, not even justice. Taking the cruelty meant to destroy her and transforming it into kindness that built others up. Constance had wanted her to die poor and forgotten. Instead, Lily had learned to live rich in what mattered and to be remembered for love. And in the end, that was the only victory that truly counted. Lily Morgan had not just survived the woman who tried to destroy her. She had not just reclaimed what was stolen. She had become living proof that the cruelest words spoken over us do not define us unless we let them. She had chosen dignity over bitterness, purpose over revenge, love over hatred. And in doing so, she had won something Constance Hartwell could never understand and never take away. She had won herself. And that, more than any fortune, any verdict, any vindication, that was everything. If this story touched you, share it, comment, and subscribe for more soul-warming stories.